The Coach McVay Show is presented by Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC, and as you see, we have a winning guest with us on a Victory Monday, Les Snead, the GM of your Los Angeles Rams. Good evening, everyone. I am JB Long. How was your afternoon at SoFI Stadium?
Oh, it was a successful afternoon. Now we're to Monday of Week 5, and you know what's interesting? How to get to Monday of Week 5, let's just go back a week. Let's start second half Philly. You have a sack fumble, you're up big, you go through that game, they make a little bit of a comeback, you get them in a heavyweight fight, you get them in some third and longs, fourth downs, they convert. Into the game, they make a couple of plays, gut punch to lose it, you get on the flight back. It's one of those flights where you just really want to land and play your next game, but guess what? It's Sunday night, you get to Monday of Week 4, and you realize, wow, maybe we do need a little rest before we play because you got to still recover, and then you go through the week, and then you get to Sunday of Week 4, and hey, let's take the end of the second half. You drive at 96 yards, you take a 3-point lead, you're getting the ball back, start the second half, and somehow that third quarter becomes a little bit of back and forth, a lot of 3-and-outs, no one scoring, and then, wow, they take the lead, we fumble, and the defense runs. There's a little bit of bad luck there. Defense runs out, makes a stop, we make a few plays, and it's successful. And the reason I say that is when you get to this portion of the season, and there's still 11 more weeks, there's a lot of ebbs and flows. So yes, yesterday was successful. Today's been successful, as successful as a Monday can be, but got to stay in play, stay in the moment, on to Week 5.
Sounds like part of what you're saying is that the win over the Colts takes some of the sting, not all of it, but some of the sting of that opportunity lost in Philadelphia. Not just getting in the win column, but seeing your team correct a lot of what went wrong in that second half in Philadelphia, be it Matthew having a better game and hitting some big-time throws, or the kicking game, the field goal operation, for instance.
Definitely. And those are the micro elements of the game, right? The macro would be, right, that's just going to be a normal probably 7 to 8 days in the NFL.
Right.
And there's going to the macro portion of it from an emotional standpoint. Got to stay in play. There's going to be some plays where the enemy has a say. There's going to be some plays where maybe you even have a say, and it was either a good, maybe you had a mental error or something along those lines. There will be ebbs and flows. But the neat thing at the macro level, as you said, the micro are those individuals, us as a collective, right, overcoming them, staying in the moment.
It was great to be back at SoFi, and SoFi was rocking. I don't know if you saw any of the podcast comments coming from Colts camp about the noise inside SoFi, but how did you see the environment impact yesterday's outcome?
I can say this when probably, I forget when it was, probably when we had to have a stop, to get the ball back there in the fourth quarter. I could sense that, wow, the place was rocking. So I steps outside of normally in the suite where I sit is there's an indoor and a little bit of outdoor portion. So I went out on the balcony just to soak in that noise, and definitely wasn't fake noise. I can say that.
Well played.
Well played. He tried. You know what I mean? Didn't work out for him.
Where should
Good
we
luck
start
next time?
Yeah.
Hey, with a short week, I'm not sure we have enough time to get the fake noise pumped in. But
let's go big picture. And how about Matthew's first month at age 37? What do you make of the September that your quarterback put together?
I go back to probably the end of August when he did return, and even when he returned, not as comfortable as he wished he would have been. You probably mentioned 37. There's a lot of years of wear and tear. But the interesting thing is when he flipped that switch and said, let's go, it does seem like you can sense the joy, the fulfillment that the game brings to him. If you want to call it, hey, it's a kid's game, and he's 37, and a father, and a husband, an adult, but still getting to play the kid. And so you can feel that vibe oozing. Take the plays he makes and things like that out of it. I think that vibe's infections, and it's really cool to see.
I know you have this data. Can you confirm for us that he's faster chasing Tutu in celebration than he's ever been with a football in his hands? Like, does the GPS data back that up?
You know what? I every now and then I think where's the is it at the dog tracks when they chase the rabbit? Every now and then people need a rabbit to chase. So you know what? Somewhere along the way, that Tutu touchdown was a nice rabbit for him to chase. You know.
I love seeing your team.
Hey, everyone has a max speed, and there's got to be a reason you got to that max speed. So.
Yeah. But that was part of a great celebration. And the fact that Tutu was at the center of it, I felt was so special for this team and this organization. We know the investment you made this offseason in Tutu and the fact that he only had one catch before that 88-yarder. What was it like from your vantage point to see him make that play and the other players rally around him?
Now I think the celebration, right? I think even Kevin Demoff maybe sent the tweet of and maybe it was, I forget, it was maybe an end zone view of Tutu's touchdown. But the whole point of the whole reason, his intent of sending the text was the celebration. And like you said, that goes into it, the individual. And Tutu's, because of who he is and because of his superpower, which is speed, there's a lot of things he does during the course of a game that helps other people make plays that sometimes is probably unnoticed, not necessarily recorded in Pro Football Focus and things like that. It's the sacrifice, the unselfishness. And we have a lot of eligibles that, right, can make plays. And he's one of them, but when you do have a lot of eligibles, there's going to be people who have to make sacrifices. He has. But so take all that back for that moment, that play, right, kind of the way the play occurred where, okay, he can showcase some of that superpower and the speed and chase. You know, he might not need a rabbit to chase. The rabbit's chasing him, and he's outrunning it.
Hearing you talk about some of the things he does that don't show up in the box score, I go to Puka Nacua's tying touchdown. May not happen if Tutu doesn't draw the PI, and that is another one of his superpowers. He's been great without the ball in his hands, getting you free first downs. But let's get to Puka next.
Hidden moments in a game. You know what? I always say Gen Z doesn't watch a full game. They miss out on just the really cool nuances, right? It's more than just the highlights that you tweet out, JB. You know, you need to start tweeting out the nuances. You know what I mean? We need a segment on Tutu's PIs.
Yes.
Is that coming after this show?
Twitter, famously a spot for nuance and discourse. To Puka.
It's a void. It's needed. You're the guy.
You know, he set such a high bar as a rookie. What I think gets lost is how improved he's been year 2 over year 1, and here in year 3, he has become a complete football player and an elite receiver. What's that been like to watch him grow year over year?
Wow, words can't describe it. We will when we're preparing for the draft. Sometimes we call it a fun badge, right? If you have fun watching a player, play football, like, okay, did you actually have fun? And there's people that do their jobs, and then there's people that do their jobs, and it's just fun to watch them do that. And so he's now moved into that category. And I think some of the nuances too. I mean, you think about this: one of the elite receivers in the league, but one of the elite probably blockers as a receiver. And so you talk about a complete player, and there's an element of Larry Zonka there. On some of the let's call it the maybe it was second 13, I think it was right before the game tying touchdown.
Yeah, where the screen to earn the right.
Screen to run the right, and he gets 11, and he's close to just going ahead and tying it up on that play. But that it's second and 13, and you get 11 instead of 4. That's a big deal. Helps the play caller out.
Yeah,
we go from there.
You know, defenses so far, 4 opponents have chosen to put their best corner on Davante Adams. Week 1 through yesterday, it's been pretty consistent there. I wonder if that'll have to change at some point because of the way Puka's playing. But in the meantime, not only the stats that Davante's putting up, but the math that he's changing in secondaries to allow Puka to have the September he's had.
That's definitely helping Puka. And there's some ways that Sean and his coaching staff use Puka that make it a little bit more difficult, right, to let's call it, just say we're going to cloud him or shadow him and things like that. So, we'll keep those nuances in-house. But I know defensive coordinators are probably trying to figure that out as we move forward into this 2025 journey on, okay, when and where to do what with those two. So Batman, Robin, however we term it, usually it takes 2.
Yeah. Les, I wonder what perspective you can offer us and Rams fans who are probably a little frustrated about the first pick of this draft class so far being a healthy scratch and kind of a non-factor, especially on a day where they see another tight end influencing so much success for the Colts.
Oh man, here's the positive we'd gotten to the point where you're now coming to a team with some established players, so it's a little bit tougher to, let's call it, either make an impact, get in the lineup sooner, and especially on the offensive side of the ball where we do have more veterans than let's call it players on their rookie contract. So it's a little bit. That's the positive. We have a really good subset of offensive players, some of them with a lot of experience, but not there yet. But I do know, and not necessarily in what he can and can't do. He had a really, really good practice last week, and just think about this: he's our first pick, and he has to go to our practice field as a scout teamer and put on the jersey of Mr. Warren. So I'm pretty sure they respect each other, but same draft class. But he really, really did a nice job last week of let's call it acting like him. And that's where you can see his skill set. So it's definitely coming, and I think as we get in flow, I know Sean wants to insert him, right, so that you're going to take some of the load off of Puka and Devontae, because we're only 4 games through. We're at week 5, and we got a lot more left, and hopefully some bonus weeks after that. So I think that's where we're at. That's the frustration. I understand the frustration part. I mean, can't imagine what he's going through sometimes, but I always say just not there yet. Getting there. But
we'll see him in the Wildcat in an angle situation sooner rather than later with a direct snap.
Oh, you know what? Maybe we take a direct snap and run a quarterback sneak with him, right, instead of the 37-year-old QB.
But I think what you're speaking to there is the Los Angeles Rams and you and the coaching staff don't see Terrance Ferguson as anything other than exactly the player you thought he was going to be at the end of September now as opposed to the end of April when you selected him?
And I would even go this. He's probably at this, again, nothing he's done, but he is probably more equipped today than yesterday to help the Rams, right? Because the more he goes out, continues to evolve in the nuances of what we're trying to do. So he's only, as the weeks go on, he'll only be more ready to play.
One of the decisions you made this offseason was to effectively stand pat at 2 key position groups, right? The offensive line and the corner position. You felt like you had the numbers there and the talent upside to run it back again. Having taken some injuries in those position groups in the first month of the season, how do you feel they've performed so far collectively, and where do you feel like the depth is?
Both of those positions we felt like had numbers, which is important because both position groups have had an injury or more, already through week 4. So in the past we've known, we've had that history, right, where especially with your defensive backs, there's going to be some attrition. So it's good to have numbers and have someone that let's call it the coaching staff, teammates trust to get into the game. There's an element where you can say if everybody was healthy and right, you stayed in rhythm and working together, that's a bonus too. But that was the plan going into it, and I think we probably kept probably more numbers than normal at both position groups, planning for what might occur during the course of the year.
We wake up here, and by the end of the week, it'll be a month out from the trade deadline, and I wonder, as you approach that milestone on the NFL calendar, have you already seen enough to know that the 25 Rams are worthy of chasing a championship and pulling all the levers that you need to give them that opportunity? Or will these coming data points be informative in terms of how you treat October going into November?
I think time always is beneficial, right? The more time you have to gather data, because again, when we start talking about a trade deadline, you're going to make it might be for one individual, right? So one individual doesn't let's call it tilt the ship, let's call it a lot that time of year. But there is an element is the more data you collect, and if you can be specific on what you might be looking for and how someone can help you, and especially when you bring someone in knowing that there's going to be we were mentioning X and Twitter earlier, there will be an element of excitement for a trade, but then you got to live through helping that player, get acquainted with your systems. So then there's always that lull, a little bit like Terrance Ferguson, and then you implement the players in and get them rolling. So we'll definitely be monitoring that. But I always go, the more time you have, the more data points you can collect. Late data is very good, right?
Well,
any data you can get late, very, very helpful.
Especially because that hypothetical player is currently playing for a different NFL franchise, and that franchise is probably going to go through some data points between now and November as well. Fair to say?
Yeah, fair to say.
Okay. I do want to ask you about a few other individuals, and I want to start with Byron Young. A sack in every game, a handful total. I just can't believe the way that he's elevated his performance. What's it been like from your vantage point?
That's been very fulfilling to see. He's a really just one of those humans you would want to pull for. Mm-hmm. So that's just the individual, the human. But to see, I call it that, players who care, who are committed, and coachable, and coming in every day to go, okay, here's where I started, here's where I want to be today, and can I get to there? And he is just the epitome of one of those players, and you can see him from an individual standpoint, and it also how that is infectious with the collective on that side of the ball, right? When you have someone, and it's not just him, but we're talking about him. But when BY makes when BY runs down Daniel Jones kind of early in the game, and Daniel's been someone to, hey, when that read wasn't there, I'm going to use my legs to move the chains, right? When he can hawk him down, it's like, okay, it sets a little bit of a tone. Like, okay, you've been doing it the first 3 weeks, you might not do it today. And then that gets contagious amongst everyone. So.
Sure, it changes his decision tree probably for the rest of the game, knowing that type of player and speed is out there. Quentin Lake was next on my list, and Captain Q's been playing his tail off. He's had some of his best games as a Ram. And I think some observers would say, safety is not typically a position where the Rams have signed extensions. However, players like John Johnson have made it through multiple rounds with the Rams. I believe Nick Scott was someone that we would have loved to have had back. What can you say about Q so far in a contract year and maybe his future here in Los Angeles?
Oh, I mean, Q's going to always be someone you want in the family, right? And take safety. I mean, safety's one thing, and then as the safety communicates a lot, right? I would say, makes an impact in terms of communication on that defense, and then being versatile and being able to play one of the tougher positions or one of the more impactful positions, the star position, especially in some of those. Let's call it when it gets to a known passing third down, and you're either gonna get the team to punt, or they're gonna get another set of downs and continue their journey. So very, very impactful as a person and player, and the versatility that he brings.
That whole room has been a strength. Cam Curl with a couple of picks, his first two as a Ram the other day. And how about Tank McCullough, a force as an undrafted player now through parts of 2 seasons? How much can that elevate?
That screen tackle yesterday on their running back, he's a beast. And that one, they had it set up, and he goes in and he knifes a couple of linemen, makes the tackle. Those are major plays. That one should get tweeted out. It should be going viral right now.
Alaric Jackson is kind of where I was going to land this plane. Step one of the offseason was renewing the vows with Matthew, right? And then shortly thereafter, I'm sure it was no coincidence, you locked down that left tackle position. The fact that we haven't had to talk much about Alaric and left tackle has to mean good things for his performance in the Rams.
It's just tough being an OL, right? If you're doing your job well, no one talks about you, right? So that's the life of a hog. I don't know if the fans. I mean, you get. Does anybody know who the Hogs were? Life of a Hog.
Teach them,
right?
Les. Teach them.
You know what I mean? The old Washington. They were, but you know what? They were famous, right, for a reason. You just didn't talk about them. Somehow they became a brand, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. He's come in and what's probably being swept under all of this that's understated is he's now started 4 games. We're not really talking or. He's doing his job, so it's not a lot of discussion. But for him to get to those 4 games based on the diagnosis in the offseason, I mean, you talk about perseverance, adversity, grit, real life, reality, and then doing, just, hey, stand in the moment, doing what you can only on that day. And there were probably many days when he didn't know if he was going to be able to play again this year or even ever. But we're 4 games in, and
Yeah, I think that's well said, and maybe we're circling back to that. Before this first month of the season, there was uncertainty about your quarterback and your left tackle, which, I mean, that could be a disaster scenario for any football team. And thank goodness for that immortal chamber out there and whatever else went into getting Alaric and Matthew.
Oh, man, that
3-1.
thing went viral.
That did.
Remember the immortal chamber?
Oh, I do.
It got tweeted out and went viral. I guess
I think some people don't even believe that
blocks.
is Matthew out there. So.
Oh yeah, we need to bring that back. That's right now. That's the MVP of the only people knew what was inside that I call it a food truck, souped up food truck.
Well, rest and recovery is the order of business this week on a short week.
Oh, did you see that with Reg? Did you read? I mean, when Sean was doing his whatever post game.
Yeah. No game ball straight to the tables.
Reg interrupts it, as Sean said. Way to let's call it spoil the mood. But that, again, going back to what I said, all it took to get to this Monday, and it might be Wednesday or Thursday. I forget where it really is on the calendar based on the short week. But recoveries, that would be the main thing for right now.
It's always been a hallmark of this coaching staff, I think, succeeding on short weeks, especially these last 2 years when you've had back-to-back home games in a span of 5 days. Help get the outcomes that you were trying to pursue in 23 and again in 24, so that you go into the mini buys with a good taste in your mouth and some momentum. How big is this opportunity against a rival, your first NFC West game at SoFi on Thursday night?
I think you just said it, right? It's first NFC West game. Those weigh a little bit more in the standings, and it's a rival. It's San Fran. We have the same record. Sure, there's a bunch of us tied for first, and not that first matters through week 4, but as long as you can stay ahead of the change per se as the season goes on, so that speaks for itself. And other than the fact that they're just the San Francisco 49ers are, about 4.5, 5 hours north, and for some reason we just don't like each other.
How about that? What about the work that goes on behind the scenes without a lot of time on the grass, that the staff, the players, the training group can get it spun around so quickly and give your players a chance to perform on Thursday night?
Boy, does it take let's call it a group working together collectively, and from the coaching staff, right? There's got to be an element of what are we going to change from last week, from a tactical, from a schematic, but how do you implement it? You can't do, because you can't really get on the practice field and really work the kinks out or get in rhythm if you add a few wrinkles or this or that. And then again, you're not on the practice field, so what are you doing? You're not just hanging out doing playing video games. You're really trying to use all the science that is out there to accelerate, right, recovery and then being as let's call it, as close to a Sunday speed-wise as you can on a Thursday night. So it's neat to see. It's always something. I know this because of the magnitude, or probably the heavy lift it is to get there and be at your best on Thursday instead of Sunday. Even though sometimes there's an element of it can be a little bit of a pain, it is fulfilling to go through it, and it does heighten, right, the sense of intentionality on every little thing that you're doing for that week.
And finally, for me, Les, it was great to have the coaching continuity atop this staff year over year. But yours was the staff that got rated this offseason. So as we go through the first fall and you're evaluating college talent and you're onboarding some new people, how is that all going behind the scenes, and how much of the college trail have you seen so far?
This was probably the last couple of weeks, jumped into it as we start how we have it from a systematic standpoint and how it's organized and when I get involved. So have jumped into that the last couple of weeks. That's always fun and carving out that time to check out college football. So that's very fun. And then, we got a lot of new. It's fun to become fans of other teams and kind of pull for some of our, lieutenants, teammates, partners that moved on, but also, getting to know new people, adding, there's an element everyone's bringing, let's call it their individual DNA to the process and trying to mesh, and how can we evolve and things like that.
What's the most important thing you try to communicate to the people who are coming and joining your ecosystem so that they can have success and feed off the momentum
I
that you
think
generated?
at the end of the day, it's we're all getting to know each other at this point. If someone, it's a little bit different if you were already within, and maybe maybe you move to another seat on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a little bit easier transition because you've seen kind of whoever's been sitting in that seat has operated before. But there, you always try to, with that group, is okay. You got to be yourself. You can't necessarily, you're not trying to emulate the person that was there. There was an element of, there's a task list of what needs to be done, but you gotta paint, you gotta be your own artist. And then with the people from other teams that come in, it's hey, let's just get to know each other. But okay, the main thing is this: we're trying to evaluate football players.
Mm-hmm.
We've all done that, and from this point forward, we'll figure out how to connect or collaborate better. But at the end of the day, just go do what you've always been doing, and we'll figure it out.
That's it for me, Les. It's great to see you. Any closing thoughts? Pass the mic back your way.
Closing thoughts. Hey, let's dominate Week 5.
All right. For Les Snead, I'm JB Long. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you at SoFi Stadium. The NFC West is finally here. The San Francisco 49ers against your Los Angeles Rams in Inglewood. This is the Coach McVay Show, presented by Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC.